Hello students, welcome to EdUp, an online learning platform for electrical engineering. I hope you are doing well. If you are new to this channel, subscribe to our channel EdUp. In this channel, we solve MCQ questions and explain the concept related to them. Watch our other videos to get more clarification on the subject. I will solve the questions related to electrical and electronics measurement subject. I hope these videos will help you crack competitive exams. So let's start. So this is something about me. Okay. So this is the first bonus question. Okay. So the question here asking is which one of the following passive components has the most precise and accurate standard? So the options given are resistance, inductance, capacitance and conductance. So basically what is conductance? That is the inverse of resistance. Okay. So this is not a component, this is a value. Okay. But these three terms, that is resistance, inductance and capacitance, all are passive components. Now what is active component? That is the voltage source and current source. Okay. So these are called the active components. Now come back to the question. So the question is basically asking which one of the following passive components is the most precise and accurate method. So basically it is asking that let's suppose say we have a inductance. Okay. So now how that value of that inductor will change according to other parameter related to circuit and to the environment. So let's suppose say we have a resistance of 5 ohm. Okay. Now how this 5 ohm value will change according to the other parameters of circuit and environment. So we know that resistance of any resistor is rho L by A. Okay. So here once the resistor is made, the L is constant, A is constant and the rho is constant. So R will be constant. But we know that the resistance of any resistor is dependent upon temperature also. The formula here is R equal to R naught plus alpha T. Okay. So we know that for semiconductor the alpha is negative or not. So at a particular temperature, that is obviously the positive temperature, the R value will be less than the R naught value or not. That is the initial value of the resistor. For metals, the alpha is positive. Okay. So at a higher temperature, the resistance of that resistor is more than R naught. Okay. So basically the 5 ohm resistance will vary its value according to the temperature and according to the material. Okay. Now come to the second and third part, that is the inductance and capacitance. So how the inductance of a inductor will change? So the different causes responsible for variation in values of effective resistance, effective inductance and resistance of the inductor with frequency are. So the first reason is eddy current effects in a wire. So an inductor is basically is a magnetic circuit or not. So we know that in a magnetic circuit there is eddy current loss or not. Due to that the inductor of the inductance of the inductor will change or not. So the second option is self capacitance of the winding and mutual capacitance between the primary and secondary of a mutual inductor. So what is self capacitance? Okay. So let's suppose say this is a inductor. Okay. So the capacitance between these two winding or these two winding, this is called the self capacitance. So these are the values which are happening in the inductor. So due to this value also the inductance of the inductor will change. And what is mutual capacitance? That is the So what is mutual capacitance? So see, let's suppose say this is the primary inductor, this is the secondary inductor. So the capacitance between the primary and secondary coil, that is called the mutual capacitance. So due to this value also there is some mutual capacitance, so due to that the L value will vary or not. Now the third option is imperfect insulation of the coil. Now come to this figure, you can see that if there is no perfect insulation between these two things, see, this is a coil and this is a coil. So between these two, if there is no insulation, then there will be a problem or not. The insulation is not correct, so there will be some short circuit between these two coil or not. So the value will be different for this inductor or not. So let's go to the capacitance part. So a capacitor fails to represent a perfect and constant capacitance at all frequency. Why? This is because of several effects such as I square loss in the plates. So what is capacitance? So basically this is a capacitor or not. There is some source, this is the capacitance, and there shall be some dielectric between this. Okay, so there will be some I square loss in the wire and also in the plates, so due to that the capacitor will vary or not. Also that is the interfacial polarization. See, when there is a dielectric present in the capacitor, there will be polarization in the dielectric or not. If the polarization is not uniform, then also the capacitance value will be different. And if the dielectric is not pure, like if it is not like properly insulated, then also some power loss in the dielectric occur or not. If suppose say there is some moisture or some dust in the dielectric, there will be some power loss in the dielectric or not. So the capacitance of the value of the capacitor will also change. Okay, so due to these regions, the capacitance of the capacitor will change. Okay, also, at high frequencies, the resistance of the plates and connecting wires are increased due to skin effect. We know what is skin effect. So, the resistance also increases or not. So, that due to that also the capacitance will change. Okay. Now, let's go back to the question. So here you can clearly see the resistance is least affected by the surrounding parameters or the circuit parameter. So the answer will be resistance. Okay. So I hope you understood this question. So let's go to the next question. So the question here asking is the principle of working of a D-arsenal galvanometer is based upon. So the options given are heating effect of current, induction effect of current, magnetic effect of current, and electrostatic effect of current. So this is a very important question from IAS point of view. This question was asked in 2013. So to understand how the galvanometer is working, okay, so we have to understand how the galvanometer actually works. Okay, so here you can see the galvanometer is actually working on the basis of Faraday's law and Fleming's left hand rule. Okay, so here it is written, when a current carrying conductor is placed in a magnetic field, a mechanical force is experienced on the conductor which tends to move in a direction given by the Fleming left hand rule. This principle is employed in galvanometer. So basically the principle which is used in the motor, okay, so that same principle is used in galvanometer. Okay, so in the figure you can see that this is the permanent magnet. Okay, this one is the permanent magnet, this one is the permanent magnet, this is the terminal. Okay, and this is the spring, this the silver one is called the spring. Okay, and this is the pointer. this is the pointer, and this is the scale. Okay, so let's suppose say the current is flowing in this direction. Okay, so now the current is flowing in this direction, and it is going to this direction. Okay, now this wire, this is the wire. Okay, this is the wire. Now some current is flowing in this wire. As you can see, this wire, the brown one, this is the brown one. So this wire is placed inside this or not, inside this magnet. So this is a conductor, and some current is flowing through this conductor. So here you can see that this conductor is carrying a current, and it is placed inside the magnet. So according to Faraday's law and Fleming left hand rule, this conductor will move. Okay, this conductor will move in the clockwise or anti-clockwise direction depending upon the orientation. Now there is a pivot connected to this conductor, and that pivot is connected to a pointer. Okay, so whenever this conductor is moving, let's suppose it is moving in the clockwise direction, so this pointer will also move in the clockwise direction or not, and this is the scale. So more is the current, more will be the torque development, so more will be the movement of this pointer. Okay, so this is the principle how a galvanometer works. Okay, let's go back to the question. So basically, what is the effect of the current which is used in the galvanometer? So that is called the magnetic effect or not, since it is dependent upon the magnetic circuit. It's not the electrostatic effect, it's not the induction effect, it's not the heating effect. Okay, so I guess you understood the question. Let's go to the next question. So this is the second bonus question of this video. So the question here asking is preferred material for permanent magnet is. So in electric circuit or in electrical machine, we use permanent magnets. So what is the important and perfect material for that magnet? So the options given here is stainless steel, alnico, tungsten steel, and soft iron. So these all materials can be used in the permanent magnet, but which is the preferred one? So in most of the cases we use alnico. Remember this will be very helpful for you in the exam. Okay, so let's go to the next question. So the question here asking is the DIAS is an integrating type instrument. So before solving this question, I want to give you some brief idea about different types of instrument. Okay. So basically there are three types of instrument. One is the indicating type of instrument. Second one is the recording type of instrument. Third is the integrating type instrument. So the first kind of instrument is indicating type instrument. So what is the definition? This will give the instantaneous value of the quantity to be measured. So the example is ammeter and voltmeter. See, in an ammeter you can see there is a scale, and whenever you are giving some current to it or some voltage to it, it is giving the instantaneous value of the current. Okay, when you are changing the current, the scale value will also be different or not. So see, let's suppose that this is a scale of an ammeter, and okay, so let's suppose that this is 1, this is 5. Now if you are giving 2 ampere of current, so this will show 2 ampere, the pointer will show 2 ampere. Now when you are giving 4 ampere, the pointer will show you 4 ampere. So it is showing you the instantaneous value. Okay, so that type of instrument is called the in indicating type instrument. Okay, now let's go to the next type of instrument, that is called the recording type of instrument. So the value to be measured is recorded continuously over a graph paper by using the lightweight pen. The example is XY plotter and recording voltmeter. So this is a special kind of instrument in which it records the voltage, okay, over a period of time. Let's suppose say we are giving that type of instrument. Okay, let's suppose say this is a recording voltmeter type instrument, and the voltage input to a measuring instrument is changing continuously. Let's suppose say you are giving first 2 volt, then you are giving 5 volt, then you are giving 6 volt, again 2 volt. So that total values, all of the values will be recorded in that voltmeter. Okay, so also it is showing the values of the voltmeter with respect to time also. So this is called the recording type of instrument. So the third kind of instrument is integrating type of instrument. So these instrument add the measured value to the existing value. So the example are odometer and energy meter. See, what is odometer? You know this. See, odometer is used in the motorcycles. Okay, so what is actually doing? Let's suppose say the total mileage you have gone is 10,000 kilometer. Now you are going for another, let's suppose say 100 kilometer. So the value will be changed. That means the value will be changed and the new value will be 10,000 kilometer or not. It is adding the new value to the old value. Okay, again another example is energy meter. So you are using this energy meter at your home for calculation of power consumption or not. It's showing the power consumption to for your house. Okay, so let's go back to the question. Here you can clearly see this this is a integrating type of instrument is asking. So moving iron ammeter is a indicating time, moving coil voltmeter is also a indicating time, dynamometer wattmeter is also a indicating time. Only the induction type in energy meter is a integrating type of instrument. Okay, so I hope you understood this question. Let's go to the next question. So the question here asking is, in eddy current damping system, the disk employed should be of conducting and magnetic material, conducting but non-magnetic material, magnetic but non-conducting material, non-conducting and non-magnetic material. So before solving this question, I want to give you some brief idea about different types of damping systems. Okay. One type of damping system is eddy current damping system. It is employed in the measurement system where there is a strong magnetic field. Okay, now this is used, this damping system is using Lenz law to operate itself. Okay, so what is Lenz law? A law stating that the direction of an induced current is always such as to oppose the change in the circuit or magnetic circuit that produces it. So this is the system of the damping system. Here you can clearly see this is the pointer of the scale, this is the spindle, this is the aluminum disc. Okay, and this is the damping magnet. Now let's suppose say this pointer is moving in clockwise direction. Okay, so what will happen to the disc? The disc will also go in the clockwise direction or not. When it is going in the clockwise direction, what will happen? The flux linkage to the aluminum disc will change or not. So since there is a change in the flux linkage, a new flux will be induced to rectify that fault or not. So a new current will be induced in that aluminum disc to restrict the movement or not. That is called the Lenz law. So what will happen? The movement will be restricted. The aluminum disc is not supposed to move. So what will happen? The pointer will not move in this direction or not. So this is called the eddy current damping system. Now go to the next type of damping system. So this is called the fluid friction damping system. Okay. See, this is very simple actually. The spindle is here. A pointer will be connected here. Now whenever the pointer will move in clockwise or anti-clockwise direction, the spindle will be moved or not. But if the spindle is placed in a liquid which has high viscosity, what will happen? The spindle will not move. So what will happen? The pointer will not also move. So that is called the damping or not. So that is called the fluid friction damping system. Now let's go to the next type of damping system. So this is called the air friction damping system. Okay. So the same thing here is, it is a pointer. Here is the scale. Let's suppose say the pointer is going in this direction. So what will happen? The piston direction will be like this or not, backward. So what will happen? The volume of the air present here will be decreased. So the pressure will be high. If the volume is decreased, then the pressure will be high. So the system will force the piston in this direction. So then what will happen? The pointer will go in the this direction. So this is also one kind of damping or not. So this is called the air friction damping system. Okay. So let's go back to the question. The disc employed should be off. Now we have discussed the working of the system. Now this is the disk. Okay, so this should be conducting because it has to carry some current or not. So this should be conducting, but disk should not be magnetic or not. So the option will be B. Okay, option will be B, conducting but non-magnetic material. Okay, so this is the last question of this session. Thank you. Thank you for watching. Please like and share this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel Adapt and click on the bell icon to never miss a video. Thank you.